Hello, 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 and welcome back to another episode of Breakdown with Hansen and Brown lockdown episodes. I need a better way to phrase it. With lockdown. It's the lockdown. We're in lockdown. There's quarantine. It's episode 3. You get the shtick.
It's
I'm
lockdown.
David.
It's quarantine. I can't leave my house. I'm sad. We're moving on.
I'm David Hansen, and with me, as always, except for that one time when he wasn't, is the incredible Joe Brown.
Yeah, we don't talk about that time. That is, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't even exist.
Probably the
What
best
even happened? I don't even remember what happened. Therefore, it probably didn't exist.
We're not there. Anyways, moving on from the normal two people who are gabbering, we have our special guest today. She's actually a frequent caller in to the show, a friend from our hometown, considering now a 3-week pattern of bringing on people from our hometown who went to different schools than us. Please welcome Evie Nudera. Whoa!
Yeah.
Evie, how are you doing today?
Well, it's my dad's birthday. He's 61. So that's fun.
I did not wish Mr. Nudera a good birthday. I'm going to have to bring you guys a quarantine cake or something.
They're all going golfing because Fred Flintstone, J.B. Pritzker, is letting some businesses open up or whatever. So they're doing that, but they're all eating steaks without me, so it's all right.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday. No, but I don't know, I'm good.
That's awesome. Now, Evie, you are an attendant at the University of Iowa.
Oh. Which, it's decision day. You got to get some sort of Iowa gear on. David and I both have our Illinois hats for decision day.
Congratulations, by the way. If any seniors are listening, I know this is not how you wanted to end your senior year, but nonetheless, hope to see you at U of I. Aha.
No. I hope to see you at Iowa. I actually looked at the Duke decision day thing. There's a good mix. A pretty good mix.
It's
not
interesting.
We're going to Illinois State, which I wasn't expecting.
Well, it's cheaper. There's usually a decent number of people that go to ISU, but U of I is always 70 people.
Yeah, well, there are a lot more people going to Iowa from their class than there were from ours. I feel 7 people went.
Interesting. How many people are going to the Notre Dame?
I don't know.
Luke Placet, and I think I saw one other person.
Oh, he's a real good student. I think he wants to go into business, so Notre Dame would be a good fit.
Notre Dame. I did not know that, but I always forget he's a genius. Well,
he's a really good student.
He's really smart. Okay.
Well, for our anyone listening who doesn't know who Luke is, he's another guy who goes to York. Great guy. Hey, Luke, if you're listening.
Good friend of ours. Yeah, if Luke ever happens to log on to this show. For Decision Day, I've chosen to wear my U of I hat and my Notre Dame shirt, partially to annoy Evie, but also partially because you can deny me a seat in the classroom, but you cannot deny me a seat in the dome. Go Irish.
Got my yellow K-cup.
Woo. Cheers.
For Iowa, it's medium roast.
I have a bucket hat and a shirt that has palm trees on it because everyone knows the defining feature of the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, is palm trees.
Oh, yeah. It's basically just a resort. It's like I'm on vacation all the time.
Oh, yes. Anyways, we got a good show for you today. Evie, we usually start out our shows by doing a little mini interview. We like to hear from the person. You have an especially important major for the situation that's going on in the world right now. So why don't you talk about your major and, what you're doing down at the old University of Iowa. University of Iowa.
And how you feel about that choice given recent events.
The choice of what choice?
The choice of your major and the career path you put yourself on, looking into the future.
Yeah, so actually, this is kind of a funny story. I was just about to switch my major. I went into Iowa as a nursing major, which I was the nursing school, right? In the country.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was reading a book called The Hot Zone, and it's about Ebola. And then I realized I wanted to study infectious diseases. So I was going to switch my major to epidemiology, which is the study of infectious diseases. And then we were all sent home. So that's kind of fitting. But, basically, I personally, what I want to do with my major, I want to work in Africa doing field work to research Ebola, or at in London, like with the NHS or any health organization there. However, this all is terrible. I don't like what's going on with coronavirus. I don't think it's effective personally. My sister, who works with the virus directly, she tests for it. This just is kind of being blown. Either there are two kind of schools of thought: people who are taking this way too seriously, and people who are not taking it seriously enough. And there's no happy medium that we've found, I feel like. So I don't really know what there is to say about that, because it's all personal. It's like to each their own with this virus. So from an epidemiological standpoint, I don't think all of this quarantining is necessary, which is kind of a hot take, but it's so transmissible that we're all going to be exposed. So my attitude is kind of like, we're all going to be exposed.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the idea of quarantine wasn't that we weren't going to get exposed, but to slow down the rate of infections, that there was never so many people exposed and infected at one given time that it overloaded the hospitals.
I mean, yes. So that is kind of the original school of thought. However, the amount of people, especially now that the seasons are changing, that are going out and interacting with other people, neighbors, friends. My brothers are being loud, sorry. Like, it's almost kind of past that. I mean, just today I was walking on the Prairie Path. The amount of people who are not 6 feet apart or aren't wearing masks, or, well, I know they should be wearing masks, especially now that it's May 1st, but it's kind of becoming like it doesn't feel like we're even quarantining anymore. Like, not to the rate that I feel like would make that idea effective. Like, yeah.
It's interesting to see just how long people can go without human I feel like we need human interaction. And when we're in this situation where we don't have it, it seems like people are ready to take more risk the longer we keep them quarantined. So you got to be careful that you don't make restrictions too tight, that you cause what we're seeing in like different states like Michigan, where there's people going out and protesting, which normally is fine, especially for the people in their cars, but then you have the big mass of people sticking together, and it's almost like by making restrictions almost too tight in Michigan, you cause people to revolt and do the exact opposite of what you want to do and get a group of larger than 50 people in one small contained area. So it's interesting to see, what effect that is. Like you said, we need to find a happy medium, and we haven't yet.
Yeah, it's just touch and go, honestly, because I think it would be different. Like, if it's influenza, we have flu season every single year. Like, we know what to do, but coronavirus, we don't know because it's novel. I mean, so it really is just touch and go. But my sister was just telling me that they finally implemented in her lab, because usually when all the tests are being taken, like at Elmhurst Hospital, they'll ship them off to other hospitals to have them get tested. And my sister is one of 3 in the state. She works in Evanston Hospital in Chicago, and they just found out a way to do rapid testing, which takes an hour. So like, we're starting to get there and like update all of our sources to kind of match the speed and intensity of the virus. So
now, you say COVID-19 is novel, but from what I hear, it's the 19th version of COVID. That's why it's called COVID-19.
Oh, for God's sakes, Rush
right?
Limbaugh. Oh, my God. Whew. Oh, man. That one hurt my brain when I heard that.
The 19th version.
Yeah, the 19th version of COVID-19. So for people that are listening that were not aware of where COVID-19 got its name, COVID-19 is named COVID-19 because it appeared in the year 2019. That is why it has 19
right.
at the end of its name.
I really hope people.
There have not been 18 other versions of the coronavirus that just blew by and we never noticed.
Oh, they were smaller, Joe,
Amazing.
They were warming up to this one. It took them 18 tries. They were like, this one's it's not working. They got it right with the 19th.
So Evie, what else do you do when you're normally on Iowa's campus? What else are you interested in? Or how do you spend your free time, I guess,
That's such a difficult question because it varies on day to day. And I feel like whoa, I just had a stroke. I feel like probably a lot of people can relate, like who's been in college. Like some days you have like 5 hours on your hands, and other days you have like 30 minutes. So usually I talk to my roommates, but I like to listen to a bunch of new movie scores. That's my way to pass time. And in fact, I was making my dad's cake today, and my brothers were making fun of me because they were like, "Do you ever do anything else?" No. That's pretty much what I do. I like watching movies, and then if the score kind of pops out, then I put that in my score playlist, which I sent to you, Dave.
It's a
And I
great
hope you
playlist.
like it.
It's
Yeah.
wonderful.
So
Honestly, underrated music scores. Like, just do it while you're reading or doing homework and you need to focus on words. Because what I can't do is like listen to music that has words in it and try to, because I'll just say the words instead of reading the math problem or the English or whatever. So music scores, highly recommend.
Yeah, that was my problem because I can't pay attention. I can't sit still. I mean, you guys know. So I would listen to music without words, and then I started with Star Wars, which everybody knows, and then it just got better and better and more in depth and more interesting. So I really like that, and I might actually minor in it. So
That's awesome.
A minor in like music, or specifically in like
So,
score
cinematic.
related music?
It would be cinematic musical composition. Sorry, I just got an email. And basically I would, what? Oh, my chem assignment was graded. We love organic chemistry.
Hooray.
Hate it. No, so basically it would just be kind of like analyzing certain techniques they use when they compose, when like people like John Williams compose like Star Wars, or Alexandre Desplat composes like Imitation Game, and how they fit into the film. So like, because a lot of, I don't know if you guys have heard this, but like depending on who you're working with, what director, sometimes composers, the people who score the movies, like they will write the score before they even see the movie, and some will do it during. So it's just kind of like taking a look at all the techniques.
You mentioned The Imitation Game, and I'm actually curious on your thoughts about that movie, because not only have I seen the movie, and I'm a huge fan of Alan Turing as a computer engineering major, I listened to the entire book on audiobook. It's based off of his biography, so it's not like a memoir. Like, it is a biography. It's a pretty heavy book. It's very long. It's got a lot of details. So they took a biography that is just like, this is this person's life, and they took the parts that were adventurous. They took the parts that had like a story to it. And my opinion on movies is not very highly touted, so I'm interested as to what your opinion on that movie is.
Yeah, so that was kind of the movie that got me into kind of like the more historical ones. Most of the people that know me know my top 5 movies are all set in wartime. Like, I love like kind of like period pieces, I guess. I thought that they did a really good job not like focusing on the war and focusing on his life and his kind of character arc, which was like, so it's so interesting because you like, I'm on my computer right now and you guys probably are too. Like, you wonder how this $2,500 machine like kind of came to be, and that's how it came to be. And like, you would never think it possible, which it just kind of blows my mind. But like, this brilliant man who nobody thought anything of is like, just like, I don't really know how to put it into words. I loved the movie. My senior quote actually on the wall, that's written in Arabic, is a quote from that movie.
It's actually true that Alan Turing's theory of computation, of universal computation, and his theory of logical completeness are so fundamental to everything involved in computers these days that as a computer engineering major, my second lecture on campus was about Alan Turing and his theories. Like, my first Thursday on campus, they're like, we need to teach you about Alan Turing and his theories so that you can understand the rest of everything else we're going to teach you in this major. That was how important his work was.
Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting to see, especially like, because from your standpoint, I'm sure when you watch the movie, you think about this from like a computer engineering standpoint. I know nothing about computers. I can work mine. Actually, I can't. I just spilled cantaloupe juice on it and the space bar doesn't work, but more on that later. I started crying. Anyway, I just thought like his story was so interesting because, you know, he was like, I hate saying this, but like convicted of homosexuality and like how not necessarily interesting like work that he did. He's just an interesting person in general. And nobody thought that it would work. Everybody was like, no, no, no. I mean, that's like a cliche story.
No.
It was a cliche, but it's true that it was that way, that they were trying to go about solving the problem in one way, and his version of solving the problem involved them to trust a lot in his ideas when he was not a very adept person at communicating those ideas, and he wasn't really interested in communicating them. He wanted everyone to just believe him and allow him to build his machine. But I think what makes the movie interesting is part of his character arc comes from, the character arc is not he builds the machine and now everyone has to believe him. It is the machine is still not working, but he is redeemed by the people around him who have, through his grown ability to communicate and through his connection to them, have actually bought into his machine and gone from not believing him and not caring about him to actually caring about him as a person and his thoughts. And I think that it was very interesting that they put the arc not around he's the solo hero, he's going to save the day, he's going to make the machine that works. It was he still doesn't have the machine that works, and even though it doesn't work, he is going to be redeemed by the people around him because he has grown as a person. And I thought that was a beautiful part of the story.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's because it's not
so
all about
touching.
computers, but I mean, you've seen it, right, Dave?
Oh yeah, I love that movie.
It's so good, and I think part of the reason I love the score so much is because it makes like I have two scores that make me feel like homework mode, and that is Imitation Game and Theory of Everything, and it's partly because, actually, it's mostly because the simple, I don't know, or not the simple, the complexity of the melodies that like make you feel like I'm gonna do homework and I'm gonna like rock it. Like I never have to do math again in my life, but every time I did math homework, I was like, I'm a genius just because of this music. And I think it's just crazy. I don't know.
I don't think you can listen to the soundtrack to The Theory of Everything without imagining yourself as Stephen Hawking looking up at the sky. It's just like, oh, the numbers, they're all connecting. I can see it.
That Johan Johansson did such a good job with that score. It's incredible.
Yes, I too think I am Stephen Hawking when I listen to that soundtrack.
It is incredible.
Only if only Dave.
Yeah, because those are, well, so that's the interesting thing about those soundtracks, because I used to listen to video game soundtracks when I was doing homework, and it's along the same lines that those soundtracks were designed to accompany a story, to keep you engaged in the story. So when they were put together, the people that were writing them were like, what is the appropriate music for this emotion that we're conveying, and how do we keep the audience engaged in the story with this music? And that's exactly what video game soundtracks do as well. You're playing a video game, how do we keep you engaged in the video game? And so when you listen to that kind of music, it's designed to make you focus. So if you listen to it while you're doing something you need to focus on, it helps you a little bit because it gets you in that mode of, this is important, I need to focus on this now. But of course, it's also fun to just be like, this is epic.
I've heard that too.
2 + 2 is 4.
A lot of especially like those like platformer or adventure games, the music designed in them is supposed to keep you motivated to keep going forward.
Oh yeah, the Undertale soundtrack, best video game soundtrack of all time.
See,
did you know a little bit about Undertale? Like all the songs on that soundtrack, Bob.
I just finished Jedi Fallen Order. I was actually listening to the score on that. Mm-hmm. I loved it. I mean, side note, that game is so much fun. But yeah, that's like a really like kind of, I don't want to say whimsical, but it's a very lightly sounding soundtrack, which is kind of nice. But no, I get what you're saying. It's really interesting how each of these scores are tailored to like the content, and like sometimes they aren't, and those are my favorite scores, which sounds confusing, but 1917 is the most choppy and annoying and rude and all over the place score I've ever heard. But that is to reflect World War I. It's choppy and confusing and rude and stupid and violent and crazy, and I just think Thomas Newman. He's such a smart guy. So
If you had to pick like top 1, 2, or 3 composers, like the ones that you are go-to listen to, or if you saw a movie with their name on it, you would just be like, you would go see the movie immediately. Could you think of, could you limit it to 3?
I know the 3, but I don't know the order. It would be John Williams, because John Williams is he's the name everybody knows, because he is probably the best composer ever, solely on the fact that he makes music that's not only memorable, but it's timeless. Like, people will know these themes like well into like the 3000s. I thoroughly believe everybody knows Star Wars, Harry Potter, Jaws, Indiana Jones,
Yeah.
E.T., Close Encounters of a Third Kind. Like, everybody knows those. Then it would probably be Alexandre Desplat, because of Imitation Game. He also did Shape of Water, which was really good. And he did Little Women, but I didn't like that movie. It's adapted too many times. And then Thomas Newman, who did 1917 and Finding Nemo, which I really like that movie.
What a weird mix.
Well, it's like How to Train Your Dragon. You would never think, but John Powell is so good.
I love the How to Train Your Dragon movies so much.
They're so good. My roommates used to make fun of me for watching them. You know what? They can leave.
How dare they?
They're so good.
The story of a Viking called Hiccup. Oh man.
I love it. I love it. It's just good.
I'll say the theme from How to Train Your Dragon, the main theme is.
Oh yeah, that is I'm flying on a dragon.
You know what, Dave? I'm gonna give you a recommendation right now.
Yes, please.
Listen to Third Date. It's from the third movie.
Third Date.
Probably one of my favorite ones.
Oh wait, is that the song that they play when Toothless is like courting the other dragon?
Yeah, when they're on the beach.
Okay, that's a great song.
Yeah, and like he draws the line in the sand, and she goes to touch it, and he's like.
Them giving Toothless a girlfriend was a bold move, but I love it.
It worked out, but I've only seen that movie once. I don't want to see it again because it just makes me sad that like the series over. Yeah, but they ended it perfectly. Sad. They don't need another one. It's perfect.
Yeah, it's a good way to end it.
Quickly, I gotta read a sponsor. Quick ad break.
Oh, who are we sponsored by this time?
Well, let me just tell you. This episode of Breakdown with Hansen and Brown is brought to you by How to Train Your Dragon. Do you like movies where dragons aren't the bad guys or trying to eat the humans? Well, you get a little bit of that in the beginning, but then the humans become the bad guys. Whoa, really makes you think. How to Train Your Dragon. 1, 2, and 3.
Every movie ever with a hot take is just humans are the real bad guys. Like Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3 is a little bit different. It's like so it's always you are the bad guy, right? So How to Train Your Dragons is like the humans were the bad guy the whole time and you're a human. And then in Iron Man 3, you're some bloated American and you're like, yeah, those people from the Middle East, the Mandarin, he's killing people. Then you find out the Mandarin is just an actor and it's really some annoying American white dude that was organizing the whole thing the entire time. And then you're like, oh, we're the bad guys because of a terrible capitalist state that capitalizes on the instability in other regions in the world. And then you forget about that part because Iron Man's suit can be summoned by like flick of the wrist.
All right, you commie.
Wow. I didn't even think about that, but you're totally right. I haven't seen that movie in years. I hated it.
I rewatched it a couple weeks ago, so it's fresh in my memory.
Joe, what were you going to say before I cut you off with a bad long-running joke?
Oh, man, gee, I don't even know. I was going to ask Evie her opinion on the Interstellar soundtrack because I have a very specific opinion on that soundtrack, and it's just a feeling because I don't know much about like movie soundtracks. But when I watched Interstellar, I was in the most anxious state of my life for the entire duration of the movie. Yeah. No matter what they were doing, I was on the edge of my seat, terrified that something bad was about to happen. And there was no release until the end credits.
Well, this is the thing. I hate outer space movies. It is a widely known fact that I believe that the worst movie ever made is Gravity. I hate it. I think it's stupid because
Hot
I
take.
like movies that are going to like show me something I've never seen before. Every time something good happened to her, something bad happened to her. It was so predictable. I hated it. And actually, one time my mom was watching it a couple of years ago. I unplugged the TV because she wouldn't shut it off. And it looked kind of like a brat move. I hate it so much. Interstellar, Seb has been trying to get me to watch it for years. I've never seen it. I
Seb
want to
and
see it. I know the premise, and I think that the fact that they brought in real like physicists to do the black hole thing is incredible. However, I have listened to the soundtrack, and so from my outside point of view, is I like it, and I think Hans Zimmer scored it. I think that he did a really, really good job highlighting the fact that it's supposed to be outer space. It's not like there's so much that we don't know that it's like you can't watch the movie, I feel like, without feeling anxiety. And this is, again, me not seeing it, but I think that's kind of like the point he was trying to make. But he did a really, really good job with the score, and I do enjoy it a lot. But I just have yet to see the movie.
Yeah, wait. So on the topic of the science being really real, I mean, obviously it's one of the best movies that's ever been made in terms of the science being accurate and they're not doing outlandish things. But the most incredible thing they did, which is what you mentioned, is in order to make the visual of a black hole that they used in the movie, they hired a bunch of physicists and a bunch of computer scientists to use our understanding of physics and light and gravity to create a program that would simulate what a black hole should look like. And here's the thing. When they got the solution, the image of the black hole that they had in the movie surprised everyone, because physically, based on our knowledge of mathematics, it is what it should look like. The thing that's weird is that the black hole, when you look at it, there's a light ring that goes across the front. And you immediately think that shouldn't happen because a black hole sucks in all light. So there should be an event horizon and that's it. But we found out that physically, because of the way that light works, a black hole has so much gravity that it curves light at such a sharp angle that what you're seeing is actually the event horizon on the other side of the black hole coming through. And then years later, when we got the first ever like actual photo of a black hole using different image sensing, it confirmed that the interstellar projection was correct. That is how they look. And that is amazing because that was done for a movie. And they got like an actual like scientific like article out of it, like a paper that was written around this simulation because of how accurate it was. And it was made for a movie. I love Interstellar so much.
Yeah, I've heard it. I mean, I have so much respect for directors and like film crews trying to make movies as accurate as they can, especially when it comes to things like war movies. I feel like they're either a hit or a miss because you could be way too hyperbolic or kind of like romanticize the idea of war, which I think is a very dangerous thing to do. But like 1917, you guys both saw it, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So good. They like all of its practical effects pretty much because it was a one-shot movie. So all of the stuff they did was like had to be accurate, like down to a T, and like they rehearsed every step they took for 6 months and stuff like that. I just have so much more added respect for filmmakers who go the extra mile to make sure that their films are accurate, because otherwise it's like, well, I don't want to watch this. I don't want to transport myself to a time that didn't even really exist, you know? So.
No, that's really interesting to me. Not all the science stuff. That's not interesting to me at all. No. But
Fucking math major.
I'm sorry, I studied
statistics. Physics isn't interesting to me.
I'll say my IQ, I feel like after listening to that conversation went up a little bit. So hopefully our listeners
You're
too.
welcome.
But I think it's interesting. I mean, Evie, if you know Evie Nudera, you know she does have like strong opinions one way or the other about things, especially things she's passionate about, like movies. But I think it's so interesting. You love war movies, but cannot stand space movies.
No, I hate them.
I think that's it. So like even like the classics like Apollo 13 or
never seen it. Never wanted to.
Fair enough. Do you like The Martian?
No. Not really.
Okay.
I don't know. I
That's
don't
fair.
see the appeal because honestly, like if you think about it, we know more about space than we do our own ocean. Like I feel like there's so much to explore here, and while I think space exploration is so cool and I am interested by it, I mean, I follow the Hubble Space Telescope on Instagram. I'm only human. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like I don't know. I just like if they were to offer up for people to go to space, I would stay feet planted firmly on the earth. I don't want to go there. I don't really care. I want to learn what we have here before we destroy the world and have to move out there. Like
Oh, yeah, believe me, I'm on that. And while I am both sides, because I am in fact the president of the Satellite Development Organization and I work in the Satellite
Oh, big
Development
guy.
Lab, I do love
Mr.
space.
President.
I don't
I
even
do
want to
love
listen.
space, but we are destroying our planet at such a rate that space travel is not going to save us. We need to fix the planet first. I 100% agree with that. I've been saying that for years. I've been trying to work on that, but
Yeah,
space is cool.
I think this is kind of shifting the argument, not argument, but the discussion a little bit. I think Corona has actually helped us a little bit. Like the fact that people are afraid to go out. Like I think it's incredible. There were pictures of LA before, like a couple of years ago, and all the smog that was there. And now it's like not completely cleared, but it's pretty clear. And I feel like okay, I'm gonna do a nerd quote. Okay.
Go ahead. We're nerds here.
From Age of Ultron, right? When
Yep.
Ultron says, when the earth starts to settle, God throws a stone at it. Like, I honestly feel that God is throwing a stone at the earth and being like, you are messing up right now. Like, all of the crap that's been put in our air because of cars and whatever, and like the Venetian fish are finally back in the channels. Like, I just think this was a really good kind of like cleanse for the earth a little bit. I mean, obviously not everybody's staying inside and the goal isn't to save the earth, but I think it's definitely a really good kind of like extra advantage, I feel like.
Yeah.
I totally agree that this is interesting how much it's helped the environment, even though that wasn't the intention. And I really hope that people build upon that. We use like the research from this time to say like, hey, we observed that when people stopped driving by like 50%, that the smog went down by this much, and there are observable changes, and we run forward with that. But you brought up Ultron, and the thing with God throwing a stone, I think that's really really interesting to the point of why Ultron as a character did that. Now I'm gonna like take a small like minute to nerd about AI because I'm a computer engineering major and I study AI and I've done a lot of
Wait, I have a
programming in
question
my day.
before you start.
Yes.
What's your major?
Computer engineering.
One more time?
I just realized.
Okay, sorry.
David, what did I say when you asked if we should have Evie on the show?
Yes, that was a great idea and nothing could go wrong. And it might
Shut
turn
up,
out to be
David.
our most scientific episode yet, which it has been.
What I actually said is, yeah, I'm always down to get verbally abused for an hour.
Okay, I've actually been pretty nice, so.
You've been incredibly
Mostly.
nice.
I literally baited you at the Notre Dame shirt and I got nothing. So I guess I have to give you a lot of credit for that.
Because the eyes of the world are upon us.
They shall make their own judgments about your.
Speaking of having strong opinions, you
Wait.
seem to care so much about the fact that Notre Dame has 3 school colors.
Hold up.
Yeah, because it's stupid. That's pointless.
Why does it matter?
Because you
They don't
should
get more
have
colors than
3
the rest
school
of us.
colors.
There's
Yeah,
nothing
what is the
stopping other
problem?
schools from having
You know
multiple
what?
colors.
When they said
You
that
get 2
Notre
colors
Dame
and a
was
neutral.
burning down, I thought it was Notre Dame, and I was happy. Okay.
It was the university. Instead, it was the church, and that made me sad.
Dude, did you guys hear the conspiracy theories that they lit it on fire on purpose
That's horrific.
get those donations? Because they happen in the roof of the ceiling and they're like, oh, it's because someone left something up, power tools turned on. And they're like, listen, this building has been through 2 world wars and it just lit on fire randomly one day.
Yeah.
Bush
I
did
was,
the
I, well,
burning of the Notre
I
Dame.
didn't see it burning, but I have a friend who was an exchange student at my house who lives in Paris now. She saw it burning, and that is so sad to me. When we went there over the summer, it was all scaffolded and crap.
Yeah.
Bad. It made me. I hate when people destroy history, and maybe it wasn't, whether it was intentional or not. Like, it's just, that's history, and I love history, so.
That had to be a crazy feeling to just I mean I imagine looking outside and seeing like the top of
Brook
this-
Terrace Tower.
I think it's a little bit different than
I
the
was gonna
Oak
say
Brook Terrace.
the Sears Tower.
Place.
Some people call the Willis, it's still the Sears Tower. Like imagine just seeing that just on fire and you're just like, whoa.
I would be
You're
like,
just like,
let's go to the skybox. I'm just kidding.
Let's get
there's
up
people
close.
in the skybox like, do a flip. You might as well.
I want to know what the engineers were thinking with the skybox. And
It's very secure.
Not a live one,
It's
folks.
super fun.
How
No,
many
I would
people
totally do that.
can
But why
we
is it-
get?
why is it facing our direction? Who cares about
They
our
have
direction?
them on either side of the
True.
building. There's
Not
one
to
on
the
both sides.
not to the ocean or whatever.
Well,
is
yeah, I
there.
know. They only have them on
Ocean.
two sides.
Lake.
I don't know.
Ocean, Michigan.
I don't personally know which ways they're
Ew.
pointing, but I know they have them on both sides on the building. They just
It's
don't have
on
them.
the
Have them on like a
north and the
business.
west side, I think.
Okay.
West
Interesting.
side.
Or no, south and west.
Southwest. Wow.
That's like the dumbest thing. Also, if you're on the south, like nobody wants to see Gary, Indiana. Ugh,
True.
like a steel town.
I
mean,
came to Chicago and now
no
I
one
have to
wants
look
to
at
see-
Indiana.
No one wants to see blank Indiana.
No one wants to see Indiana.
Is Indiana real?
I think
Actually.
so. I just think it's like bad and gross. Unlike
I
Arkansas, which
genuinely
definitely
don't
isn't
think
real.
real things happen in Indiana. Let's just delete it. Boop.
Boop.
Put Ohio.
You'd love to do that.
Oh,
You'd love
wait,
to
I
get
don't
rid
want
of Notre
neighbors in
Dame,
Ohio.
wouldn't you, Evie? Just delete all of Indiana as a guise to get rid of Notre Dame. I see through your trickery.
If
Okay,
I'm gonna
yeah.
be completely honest, I thought Notre Dame wasn't. I thought it was in Pennsylvania until last
It's
year.
in, it's in Indiana. It is in South Bend, Indiana.
I don't
It's a
care
great
enough.
place.
To go back to that, Joe, every school, unless you're Carnegie Mellon and your school colors are plaid because you're the worst.
Yay, I love Carnegie.
And yet that
Glad
was like
to-
his top school.
I loved
Whose?
Carnegie so much.
Yes.
Everything there is
Oh,
so
no.
So we're
ridiculous.
acquainted.
Yeah.
They're so ridiculous. Everything
Wait.
they're like, our school colors are plaid. Our school mascot is literally a plaid handkerchief, and we put it on a tiny little dog. and
That
we
lives
are
on the
Carnegie Mellon.
campus.
That lives on the campus.
We went there for a tour for my sister who's an engineer, and she was like, so do you guys, what do you guys do? Do you guys go to any sports game or stuff? And they're like,
Like, no.
"Ooh, we don't really do sports here. But if you want
were
that,
like-
you can like head over to Pitt." And we're like,
Yeah, they're like, sometimes we take swivel chairs at the top of the computer science building, and there's like this big driveway that's a hill because it's Pittsburgh and everything is a hill. And like sometimes we just ride swivel chairs down to the other side of the computer science building. And I'm like, you bunch of nerds, I love you.
That's. Oh, which
Lame.
reminds me, Illinois people, how does it feel not
Uh-oh.
like having anybody like drafted or
That did make me sad. I was pretty sad about that. I'm gonna be honest.
our
Loser.
basketball team's gonna get drafted though.
Loser.
Not our dra-
That's because all of our good players are coming back next year. So take that.
all of our good football players. They got
All
us
of our
All
good
of them?
football players are going to be there. Oh yeah,
All of them?
100%. All yeah, totally. And we're
Who are
going
we
to be
losing, Evie?
amazing.
Who are we losing?
hopefully Lovey Smith.
Oh, Lovey's Black Santa Claus is here to stay. Illinois loves him.
Whoa. Careful now,
that
Joe.
reminds me of
Careful.
Office
He's literally a
episode.
cryptid. I see him on campus and I'm like, look at that man. He's
I
going to
thought-
take us to success.
I saw Nate Stanley on campus and he's like 6'4". He's a big dude. Weirdest looking dude. He's not. He's just got a big baby face.
It's a
And I was
big
like,
baby.
You're
face.
you're gonna be drafted? Like you look like you're 12. But
We have
Okay.
a friend of ours that was a guest on this show 2 weeks ago. Or was that
Malake
last week?
Benjamin?
Nick?
Are you talking
No,
about
Nick
Nick?
Ward.
Nick was last
Nick,
week.
yeah, last
Roll
week.
Tide.
Nick
You just
Ward
call Mike
from
Malake.
Alabama. Malake Bindawoman, yes.
that just took me back to 7th grade. Wow.
we asked our good friend, we are playing Jackbox with our good friend Nick Ward, who goes to the University of Alabama. And in one of the Jackbox games, you tell a truth and a lie about yourself. And his two options were that he either ran into Jerry Jeudy on campus or he ran into Tua Tagovailoa on campus. And I was like, no matter which one of those is true, that's awesome. And I have to hear that story. And it turns out it was Jerry Jeudy that he had seen on campus.
That's really cool. My cousin is actually friends with, I think it's Noah Fant. So he's from Iowa, right? And
Noah Fant, the Broncos tight end?
Yeah. So him and TJ Hawkinson got drafted not this year, but the year before. And they like to come back to Iowa City a lot because we're awesome. But apparently he saw Noah Fant in a bar who's like, our bar is called The Summit, and got his Snapchat, and it like is kind of friends with him. Like, kind of? I don't know.
Whoa.
I was like, that's kind of cool. He's just so charismatic that he can make friends with anybody. So I was like, I'm not surprised.
Noah Fant.
Fun last name, Fant.
I think it was Noah Fant. I could be wrong, but it was.
His sister's name is Ella. Ella.
Hilarious.
Sorry, I forgot that thing.
This is what I do with on a weekly basis. I was going to say, small plug for Touchdown with Hansen and Brown. Noah Fant, a decent tight end pick for your fantasy team in deeper leagues going into next year. Although there will be good tight end options this season.
Touchdown with Hansen and Brown is probably never. Maybe we'll do like who you should draft episode, but otherwise
maybe do like one episode
on
back. Well, because it wasn't really all that useful week to week. After the draft in fantasy, like there's not much to talk about.
Evie, are you a big fantasy football player?
I have never. I don't know how it works. I don't know. Like my brothers do fantasy everything, and I'm like, that's cool. You are imaginative because fantasy, but that's all I know about it.
But your family's more college football, right?
Well, yes and no. I'm 100% more college football, and I have a reason for that. But my brothers and my dad talk about like every sport under the sun. So, I mean, Joe knows. they get to it on Thanksgiving, but yeah.
I had the pleasure of watching some of the Bears-Lions game at your house last Thanksgiving, and you have family from Michigan, so there was some heat in the room.
Yeah, well, my mom, we were watching the who's the basketball Michael Jordan, which by the way,
the documentary,
he's dead for a long time. I don't
know
he
is not.
He owns the Hornets.
He's like 50 something. He's like 56 or something.
He either owns or he like is the general manager. I think he owns the Hornets. I'm gonna check that. I'm gonna fact check that.
I must have just glitched because I thought he was dead back in like February. But we were watching it and we were talking about what's Detroit's team? Their basketball team?
The Pistons.
The Pistons. Okay, I didn't want to be wrong. So my dad was telling us about the famous Bulls-Pistons face-off, whatever, back in a year that I don't know. And apparently my mom they were back at Michigan State because both my parents went there, and my dad hears a bunch of like screaming like when the Bulls won, and he's like, yes, and they're all like, no, I can't believe this, like when they didn't like shake their hands or whatever. Yeah. And my mom goes, I asked my mom, I was like, so who did you root for? And she goes, Detroit. I'll always like root for Detroit. And I was like, but you've lived in Chicago way longer. And she's like, I don't care.
Gross.
What?
Gross.
What?
In my family, very luckily for us, my mother was born and raised in Elmhurst, so all Chicago teams. My dad, who is not from the Midwest, has never had a very strong allegiance to any sports team in his childhood because he moved around, so he has latched onto the Chicago teams too. So we are a 100% Chicago family.
Yeah, well, the people that bother me are the people who live here and are born here and were raised here and are like Packers fans.
David Hansen.
Yeah. That's a 100% slight to David. I don't like, do you like wearing the ugliest colors under the sun? Do you like looking yellow, like an airhead every time you just open your mouth because you think you're the end all be all of life? Like, Do you enjoy that, David? You know what? Let's turn
You-
the interview on you. This is
This is intervention.
Nudera
with
and Brown
Nudera and Brown. What's up with
to
that,
David.
David?
because David sucks.
No, yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Sorry. I can't remember. When was the last time the Bears won a Super Bowl? Was it
1985?
Was it 1985? And
That was the last time we actually won.
and when was the last time the Packers won the Super Bowl?
When was the last time the Bears drafted a quarterback in the first round when they had a
11?
Hall of Famer quarterback for 4 years left on his contract?
Yeah, when was the last time the Bears had a good quarterback? Maybe Nick Foles. But
Nick Foles, baby! Woo!
Hey, but you know what? We have everything that the Packers don't
man.
have, and they're the Restore
losing
Air
record.
billboards with Brian Urlacher on 290.
How many tight ends do the Packers have? What, like 3? Forget that. We have like 9 of them, all right? You stand no chance.
I love that
You can make an entire O-line that's entirely tight ends. The fullback is a tight end. The receivers are all tight ends. The center is a tight end. They're versatile players.
I love
We don't
that
need real players. We just need tight ends.
I love that the Brian Urlacher Restore billboards have become self-aware, and like one of them is just like, "Oh, great, another billboard for hair loss."
So funny. When I met my group of friends at school, which all of my friends are guys, 2 of them are from Chicagoland. So we would talk about this, and we would be laughing about it for hours because you cannot drive 5 miles without seeing one, like every 200 feet. Like, holy crap! I don't believe that hair is real. Okay.
If
What did he just spray some like Bosley?
Any of the interstates in the Chicagoland area, every billboard is like, Brian Urlacher has hair now. Looks pretty good.
I don't believe it, though. I don't believe it. I think that's fake news. I think it's very fake because Chicago's stupid sometimes.
Yeah.
But restore hair.
Sometimes.
Well,
like
it's
when they put the
when
skyboxes on
you
the
grow
side of
up
the
in it and you still don't support it. So you're definitely Lori Lightfoot in the Lori Lightfoot memes. You just ruin everybody's happiness.
Listen here, okay? My madre was a Bears fan growing up. My dad was a Packers fan. Who am I going to turn to football advice? My dad. That was not intentional sneeze. That just happened.
Perfect timing.
That was live.
I must
it was real. It was authentic. Just like this whole show. We like to, keep the authenticity.
Yeah, in case anybody was still holding on to some weird belief that we plan these episodes ahead of time, David and I have never planned anything that's happened on this show ever.
If I'm being completely honest, I did not know what was going on.
We don't prepare for these episodes.
When I joined, I was like,
when we started this show, we're like, should we prepare for the episodes, figure out what we're going to talk about ahead of time? And we're both just really lazy, so we never did it.
That's not as interesting. I don't know. I would never want to watch it if you guys were like, okay, now we're going to talk about the way concrete is made. Nobody cares about that.
Hello, concrete.
How is concrete made? Just kidding.
Well,
I'm not a civil engineer. I have no idea.
Okay,
one of the only things.
Fake engineering.
Civil engineering is one of the most important engineerings. I'm gonna have to fight you on that one.
You are conforming to literally everything in the entire world, and of course, the one time I make a valid point, you cannot agree with me.
No. That's first off not a valid point because civil engineers are involved in the structural integrity and design of all buildings and structures and roads and everything that is important.
I built a bridge in 7th grade. Not 7th grade. 11th grade.
It took 50 minutes, but we got
on.
I've built a bridge too. This thing's pretty good. It can hold 10 kilograms, and then what? It breaks.
Mom, Dad, stop
fighting. Why do I still have it? Because I was proud of myself. It's pretty cool.
I'm gonna break in and break it. That's my quarantine activity.
Break it. While you're in here, you could also try and break my Millennium Falcon, which I think has made multiple appearances on this show because it's
okay. I 100% believe that you're one of those dorks that glues the pieces together.
I, in fact, do not, and I can prove it to you by taking part of it off. I don't glue any of it together.
I need a little more to come off.
I need
No, that's a slippery slope. I'm just picturing myself now. No, a little bit more. A little bit more.
No.
Just a little bit more.
You would never ever like I know you would never listen to me. So
It actually has like actual working lasers with. It's
All right.
awesome. I love it.
Yeah,
So
we're in
much.
college.
Talking
Not right now. I'm in my bedroom right now.
talking about not planning anything out. There is one portion of the show that we do plan out beforehand.
And I never come up with one ahead of time. I meant
Never
to do
mind.
it this time.
Apparently, we don't plan for this beforehand.
I
It's
never
our part
come
of the
up with one
show
ahead of time.
we like to call Sticks and Stones to Pay Your Loans.
Oh, you got it this time.
We come up with little scenarios, little situations where we get enough money to pay off our student loans. You know, done. No more, no interest, no nothing. They're all gone. We don't owe anything. But something weird, bad, funny, something's going to happen to us as a consequence for getting all that moolah. In the past, Nick has talked about how, like, once a week for the rest of your time in college, someone from the Alabama football team will tackle you, just out of the blue, just
That was
completely
really
blindside tackled. With tons of scenarios. You have googly eyes in your head. You have puppet arms. I don't know.
Where in your head?
Instead of your eyes.
Instead of
your
eyes.
nose.
Wait, you can put them in your ears?
Yeah, you can put them in your ears.
Nose?
Both every hole on your body. Anyways, moving on. So we'll go through a couple of these. Evie and Joe, since apparently both of you have the same
I
level
actually
of
just
preparedness
came
for
up
this.
with one very quickly.
All right, Joe.
I think I feel pretty confident about
Do it.
I think, I don't know what your opinion on this is going to be. This is either going to be like weak sauce or complete deal breaker, but here's my condition. All of your student loans are paid.
Right.
You exit college, no debt. That's
Great.
a given, right?
Oh, wow.
Here's
Yeah.
the condition.
Lots of money.
You must live and work in the state of Indiana for the rest of your life.
Oh.
That's the only condition. Every time you look for a job, permanent residence, you're allowed to leave the state. You can visit relatives, stay a couple weeks somewhere for vacation, but your permanent residence and your job must always reside within the state of Indiana.
Oh.
I'll take that one step further. Arkansas doesn't exist.
How can you
You
work
must
somewhere that
always-
isn't real?
I'll give you options.
Dave.
I'll give you options. You have to pick one of these states: Indiana, Arkansas,
North
Mississippi,
Dakota.
Delaware, North Dakota. I could keep going. Just some terrible state. You have to pick one and stay there for the rest of your life. What is the state and would you do it?
Come out of Vermont.
Vermont is
Lots of
actually
good maple
gorgeous.
syrup. Yeah, I heard
Maple syrup, they have something called maple creamies. It's basically soft serve ice cream that tastes like maple syrup. They serve it everywhere. It's amazing. It's also gorgeous. I went there to do a lot of hiking, a lot of beautiful mountainous areas.
Just one thing to add about Arkansas. Fun fact about Arkansas: it is such a desolate. It's such a desolate wasteland, such a terrible place. That's where they filmed Mad Max.
That makes
Is that
sense.
true?
Yeah, that's true. Arkansas is where they filmed Mad Max.
Arkansas just literally doesn't exist.
Like, pretty sure when you
And every time I say that to my parents, they're like, "Your great grandfather's from Arkansas." I was like, "Oh, great!" With my great
I've never met him.
That's why Mad Max movies are fiction, because they're filmed in Arkansas. All right.
So that's my condition: is you have to pick some terrible state, and the other two, we have to agree on the fact that it's not a good place to live, and then that is where you live the rest of your life.
For simplicity's sake, let's keep it to Indiana or Arkansas.
Yeah, Indiana, Arkansas. You get Arkansas and North Arkansas, basically, are your options. Indiana is Arkansas, but it's colder, and that's it.
And sometimes they have NASCAR races.
Yeah.
Sometimes. And they have a place where you can work in a steel town known as Gary.
Gary. Okay. I think. So here's my problem with Indiana is everything. It's like,
what am I going to root for the Colts?
It's like everything you hate about Illinois, with like weird, wacky weather, bad
people from the region claiming they're from Chicago.
Yes.
Yeah, and then instead of having Chicago in your state, you get Indianapolis.
Terrible governors, which you get in Illinois and Indianapolis. Though, okay, maybe Indianapolis governors haven't been sent to jail like Blagojevich, but Mike Pence came out of Indiana, so.
Blagojevich. Every time I hear his name, I just think of like Bob the Blob or like something like with a blobby consistency.
Bob the Blob.
You could absolutely kill me with a Rob Blagojevich joke because I never see it coming and it's always funny.
Yeah, because he's not relevant anymore. That is like
he's not, but you'll crack me up every time. It's like a blast from the past. It's like, remember this dude trying to sell Obama's seat?
Blagojevich.
So what's in Indiana? Indianapolis.
The Indianapolis Colts.
Wait, do they even grow things there? Like, are there farms?
I
know,
have to
like,
assume so.
Iowa,
They've
Illinois.
gotta have at
corn.
least a little bit of corn.
It's probably just like hemp.
It's basically discount Illinois. It's Illinois, but without Chicago.
Just a bunch of like radish farms.
Yeah, it's like, when you go to get like a Halloween costume, like your first thought is like, maybe like go to Party City. It's like the Party City, like Amscan brand of Chicago. Like you don't want to go and get the high-end costume.
Like, I'm just going to wear it once. I'm probably going to throw up in this at some point. Let's just pay 99 cents.
And then I'll get yelled at by some Christian person that was put in office being like some Bible.
And you would know a lot about Party City, right, Evie?
I would, unfortunately.
Evie would. Now, the thing is, Indianapolis actually isn't a terrible city. It's just not great when you compare it to other cities it could be, but it's not like, it's a fun place to visit, I guess, if you're like.
A roundabout.
They do have the roundabout.
That's all I know.
They have the little
For that
city
reason
center
alone.
with like a big tower. There's like an obelisk thing.
You want to go to Indianapolis? They have a roundabout.
But
it's like a roller coaster, but you can't afford the Six Flag prices.
Oh, that's another thing Illinois has over Indiana. Illinois has a Six Flags.
My thing about getting a college degree is that I want to use it to like go places,
You can still leave Indiana. You just have to live there. Like, you could go travel Europe for a month, but your personal residence and your work are in
Can I have a job? Can I have a job that lets me work, like travel where I work?
Not longer than. I'm going to say you cannot have a job that takes you out of Indiana for longer than a 6-month period of time. So you can never, your permanent job always has to be in Indiana. You always have to go back to Indiana.
I think I could do that. If my job could take me out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like if I couldn't leave Indiana, that would be a different story.
If I couldn't leave Indiana, there's no way.
You are just forced to have your permanent residence there, and your permanent job over long stretches of time has to be there. You always have to come back to Indiana. When people ask you where you're from, you have to say Indiana.
I'm sorry to our, of our giant fan base.
It's just Mr. Martin. Mr. Martin's mad at us right now.
Oh, no. Sorry, Mr. Martin. We don't like your state. But we like you. See, there are some good things in Indiana.
Mr. Martin, a man who drives 2 hours to work in Illinois.
Yeah, just so he doesn't have to work in Indiana. All right.
Yep.
I'll do my scenario now. Unless Evie, do you have one, or do you want you gonna stew on it?
I actually did think of one.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
This is gonna be. I think I need a crown for this. Okay. You get your loans paid off. For the rest of your life, for the rest of your life, you have to change Harvey Weinstein's colostomy bags.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't even need to hear more.
Where's my crown?
Yeah, okay.
No. You want to change?
Can I go to do other stuff, and then I just get like a message from Harvey?
You go into the prison.
Harv. That's just like,
he's like, hey, sweet cheeks, I need you to unload my bag.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Harvey.
Now, can I
Harvey
be like
Weinstein, Kevin Spacey? We got some leeway, but they have to be child molesters.
So you're gonna give Kevin Spacey a
our one ground rule.
colostomy bag.
There's one rule. They have to be the scum of the earth, and you change their colostomy bags. You go and you do it.
Oh man.
Now,
Nope.
You'd have
absolutely
one of
no
my
that.
favorite movies of all time, Baby Driver, has a scene in it where before I think it was like his last big movie, Kevin Spacey's last big movie. There's a scene in it where he's talking about the main character, Baby, and how he met him as a kid jacking cars. And when he saw him like stealing cars, he's like, I was blinded by the balls on that kid. That doesn't hold up.
Oh jeez. I forgot about that line. I wasn't
That line
thinking about
doesn't
that
hold
in
up as
terms of
well.
Kevin Spacey.
If I saw that now, which I haven't seen the movie.
See
Brian,
it, watch
movie.
it.
Watch
Oh
it,
my
but
gosh.
Yeah, if I saw, I would yell in the theaters. I would just completely yell. Oh my god, that's too good.
Geez,
So my answer is a definitive no.
that would take a. How often are these getting filled up?
How often do you shit,
gotta
David?
go to the bathroom, Dave. So probably like 4 times a day. I don't know.
And what makes a child
Well-
molester like poop worse than anyone else's?
Huh?
Like, what's so
You
bad
have
about
to-
their poop?
You have to interact with them while you're
You-
doing, like while
Not
you're
like
changing
you can
it.
be
they're-
like, hey, go face the corner. They're bedridden. bud.
You're like up with them, and they're probably like starved for social attention, so they're gonna be saying a bunch of shitty things to you, and you have to be like,
They're in prison.
Uh-huh.
Also, you got the prison inmates like hitting sticks against the bars or whatever you do in prison.
I guess
hey!
it depends if it's Kevin or Harvey, because if it's Harvey, I'm not a girl, so I should be fine.
Let's say Kevin then,
Well-
because he's nasty. I feel like it's situational. If you're a girl, Harvey. If you're a guy, Kevin.
If you're Scarlett Johansson,
Run.
we're gonna have to pick a different person.
If you're Scarlett Johansson, you better stay in quarantine for the rest of your life, okay? But I don't think she's gonna have any deaths anytime soon, so she's good.
Yeah.
But-
I wanted to find a way I could say yes to this one. I really did.
Also, you're on your hands and knees with their
Yeah,
poop
that's the problem.
in a
I mean, my
bag.
pants are on, but like,
at bedside. So I mean, there's a
Yeah.
level of dignity. I feel like.
Yeah, David's doing the
you're
cost
willing to-
assessment here. He's like, let's see, all right.
also like I have to be
Calculator's even nerdy. God.
so, by taking
Oh, you like that? Yeah.
the feces of a child molester, it feels like you're beneath the child molester, and that's just not a place I want to be. I'm gonna have to say no to taking poop from child molester. God.
Very
You're
creative.
taking it. You're not taking it home.
Very creative
Just put this in the
situation.
old
though.
garden.
Ooh, one for my
I'm
collection.
not sure what drove you to come up with that one.
You
but
have
it's
little
definitely
jars.
interesting.
This one looks like a tater tot.
Oh yeah, you're taking a date home at one point. And you're like, hold on, let me throw your coat in the closet. And you accidentally knock down the rack of 70 shelves of Kevin Spacey's colostomy shit.
No, it's
It's like,
funny.
oh
I could
no, and it's
explain.
crashing down.
No, you have a date, and it's like, oh, the visibility isn't great outside to look at stars. Do you want to see what shapes these pieces of crap make in the?
Oh, they're like labeled
Platform
too.
or
It's like, you
whatever?
want to see April 13th, 2017? Ooh.
Look what he
Take
ate
this one.
today.
If you shake this one up, it starts sparkling. Oh, look at that one.
You get your pieces of corn. They didn't digest.
This
Ew.
one's got corn in it. Yeah.
Alrighty.
You must have taken a trip to Indiana.
Okay, David, we've prolonged this long enough. You clearly have an idea. What is it?
So on the theme of movies, you get all of your loans paid off. You know, that's the whole theme. It's a lot of money. You just all that money, all your loans gone. Okay. But once a year, you have to, for free, offer your services to a really bad, like, B movie. Or a really bad movie that's going to star in theaters. Like, people are going to know you're going to have to be in this terrible movie. And not like fun terrible, like The Room, where it's like, oh, hi, Mark. No. Just like a really, like Tom Cruise's The Mummy. Like
I
a
would
really
definitely do it.
bad movie.
Yeah, I would do it.
I would do it.
Well,
For
think,
sure.
here's
Like my clothes are on and stuff, yeah.
My clothes are
Don't worry, this is
The standards are real low
like
here.
your scenario. Your
Like,
clothes,
look, man, if I got to show up on the credits for Robert Downey Jr.'s Dr. Dolittle, but I don't have to pay my student loans. Like, that's fine. I'm cool
But
with that.
here's the thing.
It's midlife
You're not-
crisis movie.
You're you're not getting paid for it, and you have to take the time out of your day to out of your life to film all these shots over and over again out of something you know is going to be terrible.
No, because then at that
One
point,
day a year. Also, you kind of are getting paid for it because your student loans are paid off.
yeah, I was gonna say
That's you're not getting any extra payment.
Will the free labor ever outweigh the student loan stuff? Like, is this specifically one day out of a year?
It's filmed? Or what do you mean?
What are your conditions on how much work this is going to take on our end?
Oh, it takes however long it takes to act in a movie.
Then
So that
no,
can be
because
months
that's
of
like
film.
3 months.
the free labor of that is like I would pay my loans over doing that. Like, that's not worth it.
So, but you won't have to, obviously, because you won't be like the lead in these movies. You won't have to come to all the shoots and stuff, but yeah, it's going to be free.
I feel like I honestly would probably do it. I feel like I'd probably do it.
I mean,
like,
part of it's
I
cool
want to get my
because
PhD. I'm gonna have a lot of student loans.
yeah, and part of it's like, I mean, you get to be that guy. Like, you're the new Tommy Wiseau. You're like you're not the new Tommy Wiseau. You're like the new, you're like a character actor specifically for bad movies.
You're like Hayden Panettiere in Nashville.
Like, you might set the record for the most Razzies ever gotten. That's kind of cool. But you also lose like 2 months out of every year.
Potentially entertaining, but I'm not getting a PhD. I'm just getting a bachelor's from an in-state state school. So I don't think the labor is ever going to offset my tuition cost.
Throw hands.
Stupid school that costs so much money.
Yeah, it is pretty
You know what
expensive
else?
for in-state tuition, but
You know what else costs a lot of money?
a PhD.
Yeah.
A car, but you don't see us complaining about cars, do you, punk?
I didn't see me complaining about
This
the
is like a
cost of
serious
car.
question.
Yeah?
What?
Serious answer.
Do you guys remember the last time that Illinois was relevant? Because I don't.
Yes,
I do.
every single day when I lived there, it was relevant to me.
I remember when our basketball team beat yours, putting us
Woo! I remember that
highly
one.
That was a
ranked.
good game.
Highly ranked
I will give this to you guys.
for March
Iowa
Madness.
in the past with Illinois they've acted like kind of butt faces, and that makes me sad because you play sports for the sportsmanship of it, and they were not. Because like the thing is I don't have anything like directly against Illinois. The reason I like to razz you guys is because Jimmy also went there, so it's like funny because I know a little bit about the school, like more than most, but
right.
Yeah, I think it's funny. Jimmy was wearing a shirt called Liddyville. I'm sure you guys have heard that. Liddyville.
I do not have a
hate
Liddyville
that.
shirt.
Well,
I hate
he's
that
like,
we call it Liddyville.
my dad goes, "What? That doesn't make any sense." And my brother's like, "What are you talking about? It's just something that one of the football coaches used to say to us." And he goes, "Yeah, but he's like, but Lovie Smith is your coach. It should be Loveyville." I was like, that sounds terrible.
That's pretty
That
on
sounds
brand.
terrible.
Welcome to
That sounds like a
Loveyville.
Care Bear episode, okay?
That's definitely a very Mr. Nudera thing to say from my experience with him.
Mr. Nudera has been on a roll with his jokes. He spent 20 minutes the other day. No, more than 20 minutes. Probably like 40 minutes trying to figure out, Rafiki in
Yes.
Yeah.
The monkey.
Yeah.
You know the part where he's like, decided to squash banana. Like, you know what Yeah. So my dad was looking for like 40 minutes trying to find that one clip, just sitting at the computer table, like sifting through Lion King clips. I was like, what are you doing?
It almost would have been faster to just watch the movie from the beginning until you hit that part.
I know. I don't think he ever found it.
Is that it? Nope. That's
like,
nope. He's singing about wanting to be king. Nope, that's not it. Nope.
Yep.
Nope.
Nope.
Well, like he was quiet. Like my dad is just so. I don't even know what to describe. I love that man. He's just so.
And a happy birthday to him.
And a happy birthday to Mr. Nudera.
Oh yeah, he's out hitting the lengths.
So as is per our usual, we're over time. Because that's what we do. But Evie, thank you so much You were an awesome guest. This has probably been one of our most intellectual episodes ever. And that's kind of cool. I think it's going to be very fun to listen back to. Thank you to everyone who's listening. If you decided on your college today, I hope it was U of I, but if it wasn't, congrats.
I hope it was Iowa.
Cool.
Shut up.
I hope it was in any state that's not Indiana, unless it is specifically Notre Dame. Notre Dame is a little bubble of goodness in the middle of Indiana.
I guess that's
You know what's
something we
kind of
can
funny?
learn. What's
Is
that?
What?
Notre Dame's color is so ugly that it's literally blending into your skin. Okay?
No, that's just I'm so pale and I happen to be wearing a yellow Notre Dame shirt. Notre Dame's color, do you mean colors? Because we have blue, gold, and green.
I'll knock those colors right off that shirt, okay? Get out of here.
For Joe Brown, I'm David Hansen. Thank you for listening today. And please remember to score yourself some movie scores while you're doing some homework. And don't live in Indiana. Have a good night, everyone.